Thanks for listening to the Granite List Live. Today's episode is brought to you by Connect Healthcare Collaboration, where benefits marketing meets clinical advocacy to drive effective employee engagement. This is the Granite List Live, where we explore all things human capital and employee benefits related. I'm your host, Sally Pace, and today I'm joined by Sanju Sriram and Stuart Gibson with Simple 720. And when we talk about human capital related, boy, do we have a topic for today. We are going to dig deep into some of the compliance issues that plague employers and organizations across the country. But Sanju, I'm going to ask you first, tell our audience a little bit about Simple 720.
Sure. Simple 720 is an IRS and Department of Labor authorized electronic filing provider for some of the main mandatory compliance that benefits insurance brokers and TPAs deal with. Mainly the PCORI, Patient-Centered Outcome Research Fee, that's reported on Form 720, the Affordable Care Act filings, the 5500s, the 5330s. So we offer a very simple portal where everyone could electronically file all these mandatory compliance forms. And we work directly with the IRS. We work directly with the Department of Labor. So we've created a software where these filings can be electronically taken care in just a few minutes. For me, that's been the biggest thing where, yes, these are mandatory compliance, but I worked very closely with a lot of benefit compliance team, and they were taking forever to fill these out. And they had big teams, or they were like spending a lot of money to take care of these compliance. And the whole reason I started this portal is because I wanted a more affordable in terms of cost and also in terms of time for them to take care of these mandatory compliance.
And I'll tell you, you all know this for our audience. A couple of months ago, we hosted our quarterly webinar series, and I'll be honest, I was shocked at the response that we had of registrants coming in to listen to this, well above, hot topics like GLP-1s or hospital readmissions and some of the other things that are massive cost drivers for employers. So Stuart, talk to me about why is PCORI as hot as a GLP-1?
Well, it's not so much that PCORI is hot, it's that making life easier for plan administrators and people in this benefit space, making it easier to comply with otherwise onerous government requirements, whether it's filing information returns with the IRS, whether it's filing information returns with the Department of Labor, or whether it's filing a tax return, the PCORI 720 with the IRS every year by the end of July. And I was thinking as I was listening to Sanju talk that, it's called Simple 720, and it's really easy to attach the name simple to something and make it sound like it's painless. Well, the tax isn't painless, and filling out government forms isn't always painless, but you can make it as painless as possible. And when I think of Simple 720, I think of all the things that plans and plan administrators and brokers have to do to comply, or that they had to do to comply, that they no longer have to do if they use Simple 720. So I was thinking of all the things Simple 720 is not. It's not software you have to download. It's not paper that you have to print out. It's not signing something and scanning it to a PDF and then mailing a PDF. It's not using the U.S. mails. It's not requiring the IRS to open envelopes. It's not requiring the IRS to manually enter your data to make sure that it's accurate. It is literally going onto the portal, signing on, putting in the relevant information, including your bank account information, I should add, and hitting send. And you hit send. You instantly get back approval from the IRS with a confirmation number showing with proof that you filed. And within 3 to 5 business days, they take the money out of your bank account. You're done. And then you can go back to providing benefits or finding ways to cut costs or supporting your employees. So it's all the stuff that became so hard on paper and even harder during COVID that is so easy now. And so I guess you could have called it easy, 720, but I think simple 720 says it all.
Rolls off the tongue. I agree. I like that name. And Sanju, tell me, who are some of the clients you're seeing use this service the most, or what profile? Is it certain industry, certain types of organizations?
So we work with small, medium, large, all kinds of company sizes, businesses that deal with anything benefits related. So if you offer self-insurance, then you're required to file Form 720 and report PCORI fee, and that's due July 31st. If you have certain benefits or if you offer health insurance to your employers, then you're required to report ACA, and those deadlines are in March. If you have ACA filing report requirements, then you're also required to report 5500 with the Department of Labor. And those deadlines are in July. Same with 5330. So we offer an electronic filing portal for all these forms, and we work directly with businesses. And we also work with TPAs and insurance brokers and enable them to offer this service to their clients, either directly or at an added cost. Now, TPAs and insurance brokers can add compliance very easily to their existing suite of products. And Sally, you mentioned GLP-1s. I want to say, no, we're not as popular as GLP-1s, but
disagree.
But I want to say the IRS and the Department of Labor, they love partnering with us and they like us more than any weight loss drugs. And the reason for that is because a lot of people might be aware of the whole DOGE initiative in 2025, which led to a lot of staffing cuts for both the IRS and for the Department of Labor. They no longer have the resources for processing papers, for answering questions. And that's why we partnered with both the excise tax team of the IRS and the Department of Labor to kind of bring a platform like this and also have our own tax team and support team. So in some way, we're kind of able to replace the support that they're not able to get from the government.
I did want to pick up on the whole GLP-1 thing, because it seems to me that one thing, we're not a drug, but we do help cut the administrative fat and we keep it off and we're a lot cheaper.
Well said, Stuart. Well said, Stuart. And I'll tell you, it does make so much sense. I mean, we look at what's going on in our nation with these job cuts. And I have to tell you, it makes so much sense. I mean, in a way, you're holding the hands of government entities to kind of modernize them and make things flow more smoothly, which is however we get there, a wish that everyone has. And I'll tell you on a personal note, I actually had one of my most pleasant customer service experiences with the IRS recently. Wrote about that on LinkedIn. But I want to walk through some of these because we talked about, you mentioned 4 different areas that you're addressing. So we talked about PCORI. Let's look next at 5500, Form 5500. Tell me about it. How is what you're doing going to help make my life easier, better, faster?
The form itself, it's interesting because that form has to be filed electronically. It's not available to be filed on paper. So you need an electronic filing provider to begin with. And why not go with someone who handles all the forms? And the ACA forms are the information returns, the 1094 and the 1095 they could file with the IRS. But once you gather up all that data, and the ACA and the 5500s are very detailed about what kind of benefits, who gets what, who's covered, what family members are covered, all of that's in that form. And once you've gathered all that data, we at Simple 720 can take that, generate the 5500, generate the 1094 and 1095 that are filed, as Sanju said, in March, and then you've got it all in one place. Did I miss anything, Sanju?
No, but I want to add one more thing to what you just said. The PCORI and 5330s are very straightforward forms. You could just log into Simple 720, the IRS authorized portal, and you could just put in your information, number of lives covered, or for 5330, what kind of violation you did. And then you could easily electronically file them with the IRS in just 2 minutes. But with 5500s and ACA, the problem is not the filing, but it's the data collection piece. So that's where With 5500s and ACA, we offer a white glove service where, yes, there is a portal. If you have all your data, just go in there, set it up, hit submit, and you can be done with it. But then if you're like, I don't know how to deal with this data, I don't know how to make sense of all this data and turn it into a proper ACA and a proper 5500 filing, then we'll help you take care of it. So it's not just the electronic filing piece, it's also the data management piece and converting your data into a format that can be easily electronically filed. It's the whole end-to-end service.
Well, I wanted to pick up on that, Sanju, because for the other forms, for the PCORI returns, one of the things you mentioned, a white glove solution, we are working with third-party administrators to help set up a filing portal for all of their plans that they administer. So if you've got 5,000 plans that you administer, if you send us the data, we'll set that up so that all the employers have to do is go in, put in the bank account information, verify the accuracy of the lives covered and the type of plan, which is 2 data points, and hit send. We've worked with third-party administrators who were charging their customers, in the hundreds of dollars to prepare and file these returns by mail. And it's so much easier, and they're providing a compliance service that maybe their competitors are not providing. It's a one-stop shop for them. Plus, when we create the portal, we use that TPA's branding, their logo, their color scheme, so that, as Sanju likes to say, the employers don't have to go tool hopping. They're familiar with the portal, they're familiar with the TPA, they're familiar with how the TPA works, and this is just an added service.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, we have a few minutes left, and I do want to touch on ACA reporting. So what do you have for me there?
ACA is a fun reporting. It's, as it says, you don't have to pay a fee. You don't have to pay any taxes. It's just about properly reporting all the data to the IRS. The due date is in March, but then you want to make sure your employees get their 1095s by January. So that's where the white glove service comes in, where, hey, I've got a process for this. Just give me a portal for electronic filing. We have that. Or if you're like, I have no idea what any of this means, can you take care of this for me? We also have a service for that. But the biggest thing with ACA that we have seen is it's less about the electronic filing and it's more about trying to make sense of the payroll data. And also, a lot of people assume that payroll providers also file ACA for them, which is not really the case. So you could go on for months and or even years and realize, oh boy, I haven't reported this to the IRS. So that's where we've internally trained our tax team to kind of deal with all different scenarios. So they're kind of hand holding and being a part of these businesses throughout the whole journey.
So Sanju, I talked about all the things we don't do. We don't require a long-term contract. We don't require software downloads. We don't charge an annual license fee. What do we charge?
I mean, it depends on how many filings you're doing and how big your team is. But on an average, we charge about $50 per electronic submission, whether it's with the IRS or with the Department of Labor. But then again, we work with a lot of TPAs and insurance brokers that do thousands of filings every year, and they always have a customized bulk discount. But our goal is to make this process as affordable as possible. So it becomes easier for the businesses, but also it becomes easier for the IRS and the Department of Labor because there's more adoption for the electronic and modernization. So we're kind of hoping for a win-win-win-win situation.
And I think you deliver it. Is there anything we haven't covered that the audience needs to know about these various filings?
There's a deadline coming up.
There's always a deadline
coming up, but July is PCORI 5500 and also 5330 filing deadline. It's a very critical deadline. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is both the Department of Labor and the IRS has automated systems in place. So if they don't receive I know I talked about this in detail during the webinar, but if they don't receive a filing with the fees before the deadline, their automatic systems are going to start sending out notices. Then it just goes into this circle of, I have to answer a notice. Before I can answer a notice, they send out another notice. And I've seen a lot of people get stuck in this circle for years. So keep an eye on the deadline. If you need help, reach out to us. I know the IRS, I know the Department of Labor is kind of backed up. They're not able to provide support, but think of us as an extension, a partner of these firms. So we're happy to help and cover and provide support that they're not able to provide. And then always start early. Don't wait until the last week before the deadline, because a lot of direct debit and ACH, they require at least 3 to 5 business days. So at least start early. And it would be a great point to at least start collecting information.
2 things. It's July 31 is the filing deadline for the PCORI returns, the 720s. And number 2, if you want to learn more, go to our website, simple720.com. And you can also schedule a demo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I was pleasantly surprised at the popularity of this discussion recently. So I have no doubt that the podcast will be equally as popular. So I want to thank you to our audience for listening. We at the Granite List are so proud to partner with and feature Simple 720. It is as simple as it sounds because this team makes it that way. So thank you all for being on. Like you said, Stuart, I was going to shameless plug, follow you on LinkedIn, make sure you visit the website. And then of course, you can find even more information about Simple 720 on the granitelist.com platform. So guys, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being a part of this show. And thank you to our audience for tuning into another episode of the Granite List Live.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Granite List Live. Access our entire library by visiting your favorite podcast venue or subscribe on our site, thegranitelist.live.